Elias Wren had learned long ago that space was quiet in a way that pressed against the mind. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that reminded a person how small they were. His repair ship floated near the remains of a shattered battlefield. Broken metal and frozen debris slowly drifting around a dead moon. No weapons fired here anymore. The war had moved on, leaving only scraps and ghosts. Elias preferred places like this. No fleets, no soldiers, no politics, just broken machines waiting for patient hands. He was a human engineer, officially registered as a civilian contractor. Unofficially, he was a scavenger, a fixer, someone who made a living repairing what others thought was beyond saving. Humanity was still considered a minor species in the wider galaxy, not weak, but not important. That was fine with Elias. Important species attracted attention, and attention often came with fire. His scanners hummed softly as they swept the debris field. Most of what floated nearby was useless, burned-out hull plates, twisted weapon mounts, cracked power cores. Elias marked them and moved on. He was about to leave the area when a faint signal flickered on his console. Life. He frowned and adjusted the scan. The signal was weak, almost drowned by radiation interference. But it was real. It came from a small, drifting escape pod lodged between two massive chunks of wreckage. The pod's hull was scorched, its markings partially melted away. Elias hesitated. Everyone knew the rules of post-battle zones. Rescue work belonged to military units or neutral organizations. Civilians who got involved often vanished. Still, Elias found his hands moving before his doubts could catch up. He guided his ship closer and extended a grappling arm. The pod was heavier than it looked. When he pulled it into his hangar bay and cycled the airlock, warning symbols flashed across his display. Unknown life form. High-energy armor detected. Elias swallowed. Vailari. Even humans who avoided galactic news knew that name. The Vailari were feared soldiers, tall and powerful, wrapped in living armor that bonded with their nervous systems. Their empire stretched across dozens of systems, and their warriors rarely lost battles. Finding a wounded Vailari drifting alone meant one thing: something had gone very wrong. The pod hissed as it opened. Inside lay a single figure, motionless. The armor was cracked along the chest and shoulder, its surface dull and fractured instead of its usual smooth glow. Faint pulses of light flickered weakly under the damaged plating, like a dying heartbeat. Elias kept his distance at first. His ship's defenses were minimal. If the Vailari woke and decided he was a threat, there would be nothing he could do. But minutes passed, and nothing happened. Carefully, he scanned the armor. The readouts made his eyes widen. The damage was severe. Internal energy circulation was failing. Life support was barely holding. Without intervention, the Vailari would be dead within hours. Elias exhaled slowly. He had always told himself he fixed machines, not people. But the line felt thin now. Armor like this was not just clothing. It was a system. A structure. And structures could be repaired. He moved closer and activated his diagnostic tools. The armor reacted faintly to his presence. Weak defensive protocols flickering on and off. It was trying to protect its wearer. Even as it failed. "I'm not here to hurt you," Elias muttered. Knowing the unconscious alien could not hear him, he began by stabilizing the armor's power flow, rerouting energy around shattered conduits. The technology was advanced, but not incomprehensible. Elias had spent years studying alien systems, learning patterns rather than memorizing designs. Most species built differently, but they all followed logic. Energy in, energy out. Stress points, feedback loops. As he worked, he noticed something strange. The damage was not random. Several internal components had been cut with precision. This was not battlefield shrapnel. Someone had sabotaged the armor from the inside. Elias frowned deeper. Why would anyone do that to their own elite soldier? He carefully disengaged a damaged plate near the chest. Beneath it, organic metal fibers were torn apart, as if sliced by a blade designed to bypass the armor's defenses. Elias felt a chill run through him. This Vailari had been betrayed. Hours passed. Elias lost himself in the work, his movements steady and practiced. The quiet of space faded into the background as the repair bay filled with the soft sounds of tools and humming energy fields. He replaced damaged sections with adaptive patches, using human-made materials to temporarily support alien systems. It was not perfect, but it was holding. The Valari's breathing grew stronger. That was when her fingers twitched. Elias froze, slowly, painfully slowly. Her eyes opened. They glowed a pale silver blue. Unfocused at first. Her head turned slightly, and her gaze settled on him. There was no immediate aggression, only exhaustion and pain. Elias raised his hands slightly, showing he held no weapons. "You're safe," he said, keeping his voice calm. "Your armor was failing. I'm fixing it." For a moment, she only watched him. Then her lips moved, forming words in heavily accented Standard Galactic. "Human," she whispered. Elias nodded. "Yes." Her gaze sharpened. A flicker of alarm crossed her features, quickly buried under discipline. She tried to move, but her body tensed as pain surged through her. Elias stepped back. "Don't," he said gently. "You're badly hurt." She seemed to consider this, then relaxed slightly. Her breathing steadied. The armor's glow pulsed weakly around her, synchronized with her heartbeat. Elias returned to his work, aware of her eyes following every movement. He felt exposed in a way he did not like. Being watched by a Vailari was unsettling. Their reputation was not built on mercy. He focused on a fractured control node near her shoulder. If he could restore it, the armor's self-repair functions would activate again. As he worked, her voice came again, barely louder than before. "You should not be here." Elias gave a small, humorless smile. "I get that a lot." She did not respond to the joke. Instead, her gaze drifted to the open hangar bay, to the distant stars beyond. "They will search this place," she said. "They will not stop." Elias paused. "Who will?" Her jaw tightened. For a moment, Elias thought she would stay silent. Then she spoke, each word heavy. "My own people." That confirmed his fears. Elias finished reconnecting the control node and watched as the armor responded. Light flowed more evenly across its surface. The internal systems stabilized further. The Vailari closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. Her strength was returning, slowly but surely. "Why help me?" she asked. Elias considered the question. The honest answer was simple and complicated at the same time. "Because you were broken," he said. "And I know how to fix broken things." She studied him with something like disbelief. Among the Vailari, broken things were discarded. Soldiers who failed were erased from history. Repair was a weakness. Replacement was strength. She spoke again, quieter now. "You do not understand what you are doing." Elias continued working. "That's possible." Her fingers curled slightly against the bay floor. The armor responded to her movement, flexing more smoothly than before. Elias frowned. He had not intended to improve its responsiveness. He had only repaired what was damaged. Yet the system had adapted to his changes. Human materials, human logic. The armor was learning. The Valari seemed to sense it too. Her eyes widened just a fraction as she felt the difference. She turned her head toward Elias, her expression a mix of fear and something else. Awe, perhaps. That was when she leaned her head back and whispered, her voice so soft it barely carried through the bay. "If you finish repairing this, they will find you." Elias's hands stopped mid-motion. The hum of the tools faded into silence. Slowly, he looked up at her. Her eyes were locked onto his, filled with absolute certainty. "Why?" he asked. She swallowed. "Because this armor will no longer be what it was." Elias glanced down at his work, at the human patches fused with alien technology, at the flowing energy patterns that now behaved differently than before. A cold realization settled in his chest. He had not just saved her life. He had changed something. Outside the ship, far beyond the dead moon, space remained quiet. But Elias suddenly felt like that quiet was watching him, waiting. And for the first time in years, He wondered if staying unnoticed had just become impossible. Elias did not move for a long moment after her warning. His hands rested lightly on the edge of the open armor panel. Tools forgotten. He had heard threats before in spaceports and border systems, but this was different. This was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. The Vailari woman watched him closely. Her breathing was steadier now, deeper. The armor's glow had grown stronger, smoother, no longer flickering. Whatever line Elias had crossed, the suit had followed him without hesitation. He slowly withdrew his hands and stepped back. "I didn't mean to change it," he said. "I just fixed what was broken." Tron, she gave a weak, almost bitter smile. "That is the same thing to humans. Is it not?" Elias frowned. "What do you mean?" "You repair," she said. "But you do not restore. You improve. You improve. You improve. You improve. You improve." He had no answer for that. He had never thought of his work in those terms. To him, a repair that did not make something better felt incomplete. Why return a system to a flawed state if it could be stronger? The Vailari shifted slightly, testing her limbs. The armor moved with her more smoothly than before, responding faster, closer to thought than muscle. She noticed it instantly. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in careful attention. "It listens to me differently," she said, "as if it is curious." Elias felt a knot form in his stomach. "That's not normal?" "No," she replied. "It should obey, not adapt." She pushed herself into a seated position with effort. Elias was ready to intervene, but she managed it without collapsing. The armor supported her, redistributing weight and stress in ways Elias had not programmed directly. The system was extrapolating from his fixes, building new pathways. Her gaze returned to him. "You are dangerous, human." Elias almost laughed. "I don't even own a weapon. That makes it worse." Silence filled the bay again, heavy but no longer empty. Outside, distant debris drifted slowly past the open hangar shield, catching starlight like frozen sparks. "My name is Scifi," she said at last. "I was a commander." "Was?" Elias asked. She looked away. "I am no longer recognized." That matched what Elias had suspected. "They tried to kill you." She nodded once. "Because I learned something I was not meant to." Elias leaned against a workbench, giving her space but not turning away. "You said they fear humans. That doesn't make sense. We're not powerful compared to the big empires." Scifi studied him carefully, as if deciding how much truth he could handle. "Your species is young," she said. "Your fleets are smaller. Your weapons are crude. But your minds—" She paused, searching for the right word. "They do not move in straight lines." Elias shrugged. "That's just problem-solving. To us, it is chaos," she replied. "Vailari systems are built on perfection, every outcome predicted, every response planned. There is no room for deviation." "And humans deviate," Elias said quietly. "Yes," she agreed. Constantly, she reached out and touched the repaired section of her armor. The surface rippled faintly under her fingers, responding to contact. "During the war, we captured human equipment. Your machines performed beyond expectation when damaged. Not because of their design, but because humans repaired them under pressure. Each repair changed the system." Elias felt a slow chill. He remembered stories from old human conflicts. Tanks held together with scrap. Ships patched mid-battle. Weapons modified in the field. He had always thought of it as desperation, not strategy. "The High Command studied this," Scifi continued. "They concluded that human engineers were more dangerous than human soldiers." Elias let out a slow breath. "So they decided to remove you because you knew this?" "Yes, and because I believed something worse." "What?" "That humans would eventually be impossible to control." Elias looked at his ship, at the simple panels and worn tools. Control was not something he associated with his people. Survival. Maybe. Adaptation. Endurance. I didn't ask for any of this, he said. Sailthira met his gaze. Neither did I. An alert chimed softly from the console near the cockpit. Elias stiffened and moved quickly to check it. Long-range sensors had detected a distortion at the edge of the system. Not a ship yet, but the signature of folded space. Something was arriving. How long do we have? Sailthira asked. Elias ran a fast scan. Minutes. Maybe less. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with renewed focus. Pain still lingered in her movements, but her posture was stronger now. Then you must decide. Decide what? Elias asked. Whether you will abandon me, she said calmly. Or finish what you started. Elias stared at her. If I abandon you, they'll kill you. And if you help me, she replied, they will hunt you. He clenched his jaw. The easy choice would be to eject her pod back into space and jump away. He would live. She would not. That was the kind of math the galaxy expected, but Elias had never been good at that kind of math. He turned back to the armor controls. I need to complete the repair cycle, he said. If your armor is stable, you'll have a chance. Sailthira's eyes widened slightly. You would risk yourself? Elias did not look at her. I already did. He worked faster now. Not recklessly, but with purpose. He integrated the temporary human components more deeply, allowing the armor's adaptive systems to learn from them. Instead of rejecting them, he adjusted energy flow priorities, sacrificing rigid symmetry for flexibility. The armor responded eagerly. It began to reroute power on its own, smoothing inefficiencies Elias had not yet addressed. The system was no longer just repaired. It was collaborating. Sailthira felt it and gasped softly, gripping the edge of the bench. It is thinking with me, she said. Not for me. Elias swallowed. That wasn't my intention. It does not matter, she said. Intent does not change outcome. Another alert chimed. The distortion was growing. A ship would emerge soon. Elias stepped back as the armor sealed itself fully. Plates flowing together seamlessly. The cracks were gone. The dull surface gleamed with a subtle, unfamiliar pattern. Like layered echoes of light, Sailthira stood slowly. This time, she did not stumble. She looked taller somehow, more grounded. The armor adjusted its stance automatically, matching her balance and breathing. Elias realized, with a mix of pride and fear, that it fit her better now than it ever had. They will sense this, she said. The moment their scanners touch it. Elias nodded. Then we don't let them scan. She turned to him sharply. You cannot fight a Vylari hunter ship. I don't need to, Elias replied. I just need to think differently than they expect. She studied him again, truly seeing him now. Not as a fragile civilian, but as an unknown variable. That, she said quietly, is exactly what they fear. The ship shuddered as space rippled beyond the hangar shield. A sleek Vylari vessel emerged, its hull marked with the insignia of the High Command. Weapons powered up immediately. Locking onto Elias's ship, the comm channel opened without request. Unregistered human vessel, a cold voice said. Power down, and prepare for inspection. Elias looked at Sailthira. If I do that, they'll take you. Yes, she said. If I run, they'll chase. Yes. He took a deep breath. His heart hammered, but his mind felt strangely clear. Then, I won't do either. He began entering commands, rerouting ship systems in ways no regulation manual would approve. Sailthira watched the displays shift into unfamiliar patterns. What are you doing? She asked. Repairing, Elias said simply. Outside, the Vylari ship advanced, confident and precise. Inside, a human engineer finished fixing something that had never been meant to change, and the galaxy, unknowingly, took another step toward a future it was not ready for. The Vylari hunter ship moved closer, its presence heavy and certain. It did not rush. It did not need to. Everything about it spoke of control, of confidence built over centuries of victory. Its weapons remained charged but silent, like a predator that knew its prey had nowhere to go. Inside the human repair ship, Elias felt sweat form on his palms as he worked. His fingers moved fast across the console, rerouting power, disabling standard protocols, bending systems into shapes they were never designed to take. Warning messages flashed and vanished as quickly as he silenced them. Scifi stood near the center of the bay, testing her balance. The armor moved with her like a second body. Every small shift of her weight was met with instant adjustment. She felt stronger than she had in years, but also exposed. This armor was no longer invisible to her people. It was loud in ways scanners would not miss. "They are locking targeting arrays," she said calmly, her head tilting slightly as if she could feel the enemy ship through space itself. "I know," Elias replied. "I'm reading it too. You cannot outrun them." "I'm not trying to." She turned to him sharply. "Then what is your plan?" Elias paused, fingers hovering above the controls. He had no grand strategy, no military training. What he had was instinct. The same instinct that guided his hands when a system failed in an unexpected way. "I'm going to make my ship confusing," he said. Scifi frowned. "That is not a tactic. It is for humans," Elias replied. The Valeri voice returned over the comm, sharper now. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. Power down immediately." Elias ignored it. Instead, he diverted power from life support reserves into the ship's outer hull field. The field flickered, then stabilized into an uneven pattern, pulsing irregularly. On the hunter ship, sensors reacted at once. Readings conflicted. The human ship's mass signature fluctuated. Its energy profile did not match any known configuration. "What are they doing?" a Valeri officer asked, confusion bleeding into discipline. Inside the repair ship, the lights dimmed slightly as Elias pushed the systems harder. He felt the ship strain, felt vibrations through the floor. This was dangerous. One mistake could tear the vessel apart. Scifi watched the displays, her eyes narrowing. "You are destabilizing yourself." Yes," Elias said, "on purpose." The hunter ship fired a disabling pulse, precise and calculated. The energy wave struck the human ship's field and bent. Not deflected, not absorbed, bent. The pulse twisted along the uneven field, sliding off into empty space like water over warped glass. On the hunter ship, alarms flared. "That should not be possible," the Valeri commander said. Inside Elias's ship, Scifi felt a surge run through her armor. The system reacted to the incoming energy, learning from it, adjusting its own defensive layers. Elias had not told it to do that. He had only opened pathways. "They will escalate," Scifi warned. "I expect them to," Elias replied. The hunter ship changed tactics, deploying restraint fields designed to lock down smaller vessels. Space itself seemed to tighten around Elias's ship. Invisible pressure building. Elias gritted his teeth and made another change, linking the ship's field harmonics with Scifi's armor output. It was reckless. Human ships and Valeri combat systems were never meant to interface directly. The result was immediate. The restraint field locked, then slipped. The human ship's outline blurred for a fraction of a second. Not moving, but existing slightly out of alignment with the space around it. The pressure vanished. Scifi staggered, then steadied herself. Her armor glowed brighter, lines of unfamiliar light running across its surface. "It is using my systems as a reference point," she said, disbelief creeping into her voice. Elias nodded. "Your armor adapts faster than my ship. I'm letting the ship follow it." "You are turning your vessel into a dependent system," she said. "If the armor fails, then we both fail," Elias finished. "Fair deal." On the hunter ship, confusion turned to unease. Every control input produced delayed or contradictory results. The human ship did not behave like a target. It behaved like a question with no answer. "Prepare boarding torpedoes," the commander ordered. "We will take them directly." Scifi's posture changed instantly. "They are coming inside." Elias looked up sharply. "Inside?" "Yes. They will not destroy you. They want you." The idea sent a cold wave through Elias. Capture by the Valari High Command was not something any human survived intact. No, he said quietly. That can't happen. He looked around the bay, at the tools, the cables, the armor standing like a living presence between him and the stars. Then his gaze locked onto a diagnostic panel, displaying Saelthira's armor core. An idea formed. It was dangerous. It was untested. It was very human. Can your armor project its field outward? He asked. Saelthira hesitated. It is not designed for that. But can it? She focused inward, interfacing with the altered system. The armor responded instantly, opening options she had never seen before. Yes, she said slowly, but only briefly. That's enough, Elias said. When the boarding torpedoes breach, I want you to expand your field. Not to block them. To do what? She asked. To confuse them, Elias replied. The first torpedo struck the hull with controlled force, cutting through layers with surgical precision. Valari technology did not waste energy. It created exactly enough space. The second followed. The bay shook as pressure equalized, emergency fields snapping into place. Smoke and sparks filled the air. Now! Elias shouted. Saelthira stepped forward and released the field. The effect was immediate and unsettling. Space inside the bay seemed to ripple. Not violently, but unevenly. The boarding torpedoes, half deployed, half open, froze mid-action as their systems tried to interpret conflicting spatial data. Valari soldiers inside them hesitated, training clashing with sensor chaos. Elias did not wait. He overloaded the bay's lighting, sound, and gravity controls, feeding irregular data into every system at once. Nothing broke. Everything misbehaved. The torpedoes disengaged automatically, safety protocols triggering to avoid internal failure. They pulled back, retreating to the hunter ship. Saelthira lowered the field, breathing hard. They will adapt, she said. I know, Elias replied. That's why we leave now. But they will follow. Elias smiled grimly. Not where I'm going. He punched in coordinates not to a stable jump point, but into a region of space marked unstable and unpredictable. No sane navigator used it. The ship's drive whined in protest. Saelthira stared at the data. That route is unsafe. So is staying, Elias said. The hunter ship fired again. This time with lethal intent. Energy lanced toward the human vessel. Elias engaged the jump. Space twisted violently. The ship lurched, alarms screaming as reality folded around it. For a moment, Elias thought he had made a fatal mistake. Then everything went quiet. Stars reappeared, but not the same ones. The ship drifted in a region of warped space, gravitational currents flowing like slow rivers. Behind them, there was nothing. No hunter ship, no pursuit. Saelthira sank to one knee, steadying herself. Her armor dimmed slightly, then stabilized. You used an uncharted corridor, she said, awe clear in her voice. I used a broken one, Elias replied, slumping into his chair. It wasn't safe enough for their ships. She looked at him, truly looked at him, and something in her expression changed. They will report this, she said. A human engineer resisted a high-command vessel, altered Valari armor, escaped pursuit. Elias rubbed his face tiredly. I was hoping this wouldn't get noticed. It will, she said softly. Across the galaxy. He laughed weakly. So much for staying unnoticed. Saelthira rose and stood beside him, gazing out at the strange stars. You have crossed a line, she said. There is no return. Elias followed her gaze. Fear still lived in his chest. But beneath it was something else. Resolve. Then I guess, he said. We see what's on the other side. Far away, within Valari space, alarms continued to echo. Data reports flowed upward. Patterns were analyzed. And for the first time, the High Command did not see chaos. They saw a warning. The region of warped space was quiet in a way Elias had never experienced before. The stars looked stretched, as if reality itself had been pulled thin and never fully relaxed again. His ship drifted slowly, engines cooling, systems recovering from the strain of the jump. For a long time, neither he nor Scifi spoke. Elias sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the navigation screen. His hands trembled, now that the danger had passed. He had done something impossible, something no civilian engineer was supposed to do. Escape was one thing. Changing the rules of an encounter was another. Behind him, Scifi stood silently, her armor dimmer but stable. The strange new pattern still moved across its surface, slow and thoughtful, like the armor was breathing with her. "They will not follow us here," she said at last. Elias nodded. "Their ships are built for certainty. This place doesn't offer that." She turned her head slightly. "You understand them well." "I understand systems," Elias replied. "People just happen to build them." He pushed himself up and began checking damage reports. The ship had survived. Barely. Hull stress was high. Power reserves low. It would need repairs. Real ones. Not just emergency fixes. Scifi watched him work. For the first time since they met, there was no urgency in her posture. No immediate threat. Only thought. "You have changed more than my armor," she said. Elias glanced at her. "How so?" "You have changed how I see your species," she replied. "And how my people will see you." That did not sound comforting. "What happens now?" Elias asked. Scifi was quiet for several seconds. "The High Command will not ignore what happened. They cannot. They believed humans were manageable. Predictable if monitored. That belief is gone." Elias sighed. "I didn't mean to start anything." She gave a faint smile. "Few revolutions begin with intent." He looked at her sharply. "Revolution? There are others like me," she said. "Valeri who question. Who have seen the limits of perfection. We are few. And we are hunted. But now, we have proof." "Proof of what?" "That adaptation beats control." Elias leaned against a console, suddenly very tired. "I'm just one engineer." Scifi stepped closer. "You are one example." And examples spread. The ship's sensors chimed softly. Elias stiffened, then relaxed when he saw the reading. Not a warship. A small vessel, approaching cautiously, broadcasting a neutral signal. Scifi's eyes narrowed. "That is not Valeri design." Elias adjusted the feed. The ship's configuration was unfamiliar, a blend of different technologies. A civilian craft, heavily modified. The message repeated, open and unencrypted. Unidentified vessel. This is the free relay. We detected a spatial distortion and followed its echo. We mean no harm. Elias exchanged a look with Scifi. "They followed us through a broken corridor?" "Yes," she said slowly. "Which means they are already different." Elias opened the channel. "This is Elias Wren. State your purpose." A human voice answered, calm but alert. "We're independent operators, salvagers, engineers, traders. We've been watching unusual data patterns around Valeri space. And now you appear, breaking physics in ways that look familiar." Elias felt his stomach drop. "Familiar how?" "Like something a human would do," the voice replied. Scifi closed her eyes briefly. "It has begun." The free relay ship kept its distance but powered down its weapons entirely, a clear sign of trust. Elias did not fully return the gesture, but he did lower his shield slightly. Within hours, more signals appeared. Not ships arriving all at once, but messages, relayed through encrypted channels. Humans, non-humans too, independent thinkers, engineers, defectors, all curious about the report spreading quietly through the network. A human engineer had altered Valeri armor. A civilian ship had escaped a hunter vessel. The impossible had happened, and it had witnesses. Elias sat in his ship's common area, surrounded by data feeds, trying to keep up. "I don't want to lead anything," he said quietly. Scifi stood across from him. "Leadership is not always chosen. Sometimes it is assigned by circumstance." "I just fix things," Elias said again, almost pleading. "And now, she replied. "The galaxy is broken." He looked up at her, meeting her gaze. There was no accusation there, only truth. Days passed. The warped region became a temporary refuge. Elias repaired his ship properly. This time with help. Other engineers shared ideas, tested theories, built systems that did not rely on rigid prediction. They worked like humans always had together, arguing, adapting, improving. Sailthera trained as well, relearning her armor, exploring its new limits. It no longer constrained her movement or her thinking. It responded to intention, not doctrine. Messages from Valari space grew darker. The High Command tightened control, hunting defectors more aggressively. But something had changed. Their tactics failed more often now. Human-style unpredictability had begun to spread. One evening, Elias stood at the viewport, watching the warped stars ripple slowly. Sailthera joined him. "They are afraid," she said. "Good," Elias replied, then paused. "Is that wrong?" She considered it. "Fear can destroy, but it can also teach." He nodded. "What will you do?" "I will return," she said. "Not as a commander. As a messenger." "That's dangerous." "Yes," she agreed. "But necessary." Elias turned to her. "You won't be alone." "No," she said softly. "Because humans will follow." He smiled faintly. "We're stubborn like that." The day she left, her armor gleamed with quiet strength. Not a weapon of domination, but a symbol of change. Her ship vanished into folded space, carrying more than a message. It carried proof. Elias remained behind, working, teaching, fixing. Months later, official contact arrived. Not a threat, a request. The Valari High Command wanted to negotiate. Not with admirals, not with soldiers, with engineers. Elias read the message twice, then laughed quietly to himself. Humanity had never won wars the way others did. They endured. They adapted. They repaired what was broken, even when the galaxy told them not to. Now the galaxy was learning the cost of underestimating that habit. Far across the stars, stories spread. Not of human fleets or superweapons, but of human hands changing systems. Of simple fixes that became unstoppable evolutions. And whenever the story reached its quiet end, there was always one line that lingered in memory. They feared humans not for what they destroyed, but for what they fixed and what it became afterward.